In that picture there, you start off each day armed with a to-do list and the best of intentions. Then all day long, interruptions and distractions keep popping up like those pesky moles, demanding you pay attention to them. Then suddenly you realize the day is gone and you're left wondering, where did my day go? If this scene is like the movie Groundhog Day for you, then this video will give you a whole new way of approaching the people who interrupt you. I will share with you fail-proof strategies for dealing with the 3 most common kinds of interruptions so you can keep people from stealing your time, but still be a good person. You'll be able to finish your to-do list and go home an hour earlier each day, free of the stress that's caused by work you haven't accomplished. And if you're like most people who have to deal with chatterboxes who corner you on the phone unexpectedly or drop by your office asking, "Have a minute?" By the end of this video, you'll have a polite, magic bullet phrase you can say that will always get that venter off the phone or out of your office quickly. Now let me go out on a limb for a moment and see if you're like my client, AJ. As the head of a small insurance company office, he got interrupted all day long. A colleague down the hall starts the day by shooting the breeze about last night's game. A higher up in his organization calls to get some sales numbers for an urgent conference call. A client emails about a change in his policy. His assistant vents about someone else in the office. Inevitably, some kind of data input issue causes a crisis. AJ wouldn't get to calling the 3 main prospects on his list, the ones that would bring in money. He'd put off preparing his big presentation in order to deal with distractions. He wouldn't get around to cleaning off his desk. Now, even though it's his business, it seemed out of his control. He told me he'd go home aggravated, feeling resentful of the people he works with and guilty that he wasn't moving his business forward yet another day. Is this the way that you feel? If so, here's a new way of thinking about interruptions and distractions. Every interaction between you and someone else can be understood with this circle drawing. The top half is your half, the 50% that you can control. The bottom half is the 50% you can't control. Now, you may have thought that because interruptions originate from other people, it should be up to them in their 50% to stop interrupting you. If you want to dramatically reduce the impact of interruptions in your life, simply adopt the same productivity mindset that every regular person who becomes successful has. It boils down to this: you have control over your half. You alone can control what you focus your attention on, what you say or don't say, what you do or don't do to respond whenever interrupted. You have a choice in that moment. It's so basic, yet does it feel like a choice for you? How would you like to have the mindset that empowers you to take full control of your 50% and make sure that other people never affect how your day goes again? Here's something you can start with. Understand your most common kinds of interruptions. All interruptions and distractions are not alike, so you shouldn't have a one-size-fits-all approach. Some you want to allow and act on right away. Some you want to cut off at the pass, and others you want to find out quickly what the need is and then respond. So play back the events of the last 3 days in your mind and make a list of all the interruptions that you can remember. Then make a chart and write down the following information. Column 1, who interrupted you? Column 2, what kind of interruption was it? Like, did they call or email, text you, etc.? Column 3, why did they interrupt you? Now, this is very important. I've identified 15 of the most common interruptions, and the reason they interrupted you holds the key for how to deal with the situation, and more importantly, how to prevent it in the future. I want to give you 3 examples from this list of the 15 most common kinds of interruptions so that you can start to take control of your day right away. Here they are in no particular order. 1, people who interrupt you for the same things over and over. When you have people who interrupt you frequently for the same kinds of questions, this is a sure opportunity for you to do whatever you can in your 50% to prevent these interruptions again. Try creating a frequently asked questions document and include all the things people come and bug you about. Make it super easy and user-friendly. Index it for people so it's simple for them to find the answers they need. Then it's very important to alert everyone that this information is available. Notify people at meetings. Set up an email autoresponder that reminds everyone about it. Maybe even put a signature line in your email that says, "I'm happy to answer questions that are not answered in my FAQ document." If they have a question not covered in your document, you might have them fill out a form or hold regularly scheduled office hours at which they can ask you questions. If you're in business for yourself, do you have a frequently asked questions on your website and in your social media profiles? The idea is to prevent these kinds of interruptions in the future. Second kind of interruption, a request to do something that is urgent for the other person, but not for you. Like a colleague who needs to prepare for a meeting in 2 hours and just sent you the email now. Or it could be maybe your spouse who's wanting to make travel plans. In this kind of interruptions, it's worth your while to take a moment to find out more information about the situation and then kind of triage your response. Respond according to what you find out. Ask some questions like, what exactly do they need? For what purpose? By when? And what time do they need to get the information in order to review it? Because with this information, you can have some control over planning when you will get it to them. If it's for a conference call with a senior leader or with a client, then it's true it may have to become a priority for you too. But you can always have some control in your 50%. Like ask them to describe exactly what they need so that you don't have to waste your time figuring it out. Or if they're the kind of person who creates emergencies often, use effective influencing techniques to inform them that they can get a better response from you with adequate notice. In short, figure out what's required of you and respond, but then minimize future interruptions by resolving it at its root cause. Third kind of interruption, someone who wants to vent or share their experience. Now we get to the moment you might have been waiting for. How do you deal with that chatterbox who comes knocking at your door asking, "Got a minute?" Or calls out of the blue and starts spewing another long-winded story they think you have to hear, or vents about something that you don't want to be listening to. We've all been there, feeling like you have to sit there and take it. Well, here's something that you can do in your 50%. Listen just enough to show respect and get the sense of where they're going. And then, when you're ready to politely cut it off, simply say this magic bullet phrase. How specifically can I be helpful to you? This always works because it makes the other person stop their babbling and actually have to think about and concisely state their purpose for coming to you. Now, if they do say, well, I just need to vent, you can say, okay, I have 5 minutes until I have to leave for my next meeting. I'm all ears. And then get up and walk out in 5 minutes, even if you don't have a meeting to go to. That magic bullet phrase works like a charm every time. Now notice from these examples how different my advice is to you about each situation. When you have a productivity mindset, you give yourself the ability to have a lot more control over each interruption and be responsible for your 50%. Do you want to know how to handle the other 12 most common interruptions? Particularly number 4, which is about how to deal with the situations when it's your boss or your most important client who interrupts you, even if they interrupt you frequently. Or number 5, which is about the right way to say no to someone and still be a good and helpful person. If so, go to www.productivitymindsetmastery.com and download the program for yourself now. Oh, and by the way, remember my client AJ and his struggles with interruptions? He developed a productivity mindset and started taking responsibility for his 50%. He started to control his day instead of his day controlling him. He started getting home from work an hour earlier, and he told me it felt great not to be stressed out or feel guilty anymore. Just by being able to focus his attention on revenue generation and cost savings instead of responding to interruptions all day, during the first month of our coaching, he landed a new $17,000 client. He was so psyched. Get the same strategies for how to create uninterrupted time and keep great relationships with your coworkers, your boss, your clients, and even your family members. Download them now at www.productivitymindsetmastery.com.